Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. नाचो गाओ भक्त संगे मन संकीर्तन बड़ई मधुर महाप्रभु वचन हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम हरे Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for joining this morning. Srimad Bhagavatam class and attentive japa. We shall carry on with what we were discussing last time. So Sati has now taken her own life, and Lord Shiva is going to find out about this, and then what happens next. Thank you so much. So Maitreya is telling Gudur, when Lord Shiva heard from Narad that Sati, his wife, was now dead because of Prajapati Daksha's insult to her, and that his soldiers had been driven away by the Ribu demigods, he became greatly angry. Excuse me. So Lord Shiva understood that Sati, being the youngest daughter of Daksh, could present the case of Lord Shiva's purity of purpose and would thus be able to mitigate the misunderstanding between Daksh and himself. But such a compromise was not attained. And Sati was deliberately insulted by her father by not being received properly when she visited his house without being invited. Sati herself could have killed her father, Daksh, because she is the personified material energy and has immense power to kill and create within this material universe. In the Brahma Samhita, her strength is described. She is capable of creating and dissolving many universes. But although also she is powerful, she acts under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She is totally dedicated and surrendered to the Lord, although she is well empowered to do all these things. Krishna, so she's under Krishna as his shadow. It would not have been difficult for Sati to punish her father, but she thought that since she was his daughter, it was not proper for her to kill him, because he did such a big insult, but she still decided not to take any action against him. Thus she decided to give up her own body, which was connected to Daksh, which she had been obtained from him, and Daksh did not even try to stop her. When Sati passed away, giving up her body, the news was conveyed by Narad to Shiva. Narad always carries the news of such events because he knows their import. Because Narad understands what's happening and why it's happening and what's going to happen after this. He knows what's these pastimes all about already. So when Lord Shiva heard that his chaste wife Sati was dead, he naturally became exceedingly angry. He also understood that Bhrigu Muni had created the Ribu Deva demigods by uttering the mantras of the Yajur Ved, and that these demigods had driven away all his soldiers who were present in the arena of sacrifice. Therefore, he wanted to reply to this insult. So it's an insult to his, first of all, his wife, who's been killed because of the insult, and also insult to his soldiers, so to speak, that were driven away. So decided to kill Daksh because he was the cause of death of Sati. Because Lord Shiva, being extremely angry, pressed his lips with his teeth and immediately snatched from his head a strand of hair which blazed like electricity or fire. He stood up at once, laughing like a madman, and dashed the hair to the ground. So let's do a prayer. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mukham Kruti Vachalam Pangum Lam Yate Girim Yat Kirpata Mamande Shri Guru Deen Taranam Pramananda Madhvam Shri Chataneshwaram. Hari Om Tassat. Narayam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narotamam Devim Saswit Vyasam Pratojayam Udiriyat. Nashta Preshava Budareshu Nityam Bhagavad Sevya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhakti Nestiki. Hare Krishna. So a fearful black demon as high as the sky and as bright as three suns combined was therefore created. His teeth were very fearful and the hairs on his head like burning fire. He had thousands of arms equipped with various weapons, and he was garlanded with heads of men. So this is just from the strand of Shiva's hair, he can create such power. So just think how how great, how powerful Lord Shiva is. When that gigantic demon asked with folded hands, "What shall I do, my Lord?" Lord Shiva, who is known as Bhutanath, directly ordered, "Because you are born from my body, you are the chief of all my associates. Therefore, kill Daksh and his soldiers at the sacrifice." So Lord Shiva is now on a mission. He wants to completely destroy these people because they have caused so much havoc and broken all the rules. And Lord Shiva is now trying to sort things out. Here is the beginning of competition between Brahma Tejas and Shiva Tejas. By Brahma Tejas' Brahmanical strength, Bhrigu Muni had created the Ribhu demigods who had driven away the soldiers of Lord Shiva stationed in the arena. When Lord Shiva heard that his soldiers had been driven away, he created the two black demon Virabhadra to retaliate. There is sometimes competition between the mode of goodness and the mode of ignorance. So Srila Prabhupada is comparing now the mode of goodness and mode of ignorance in this situation. That is the way of material existence. Even when one is situated in the mode of goodness, there is every possibility that his position will be mixed with or attacked by the mode of passion or ignorance, because these modes are always competing for prominence. That is the way, that is the law of material nature. All the pure goodness or Tattva is the basic principle in the spiritual world. Pure manifestation of goodness is not possible in this world. Although that's what we strive for, pure goodness. Thus, struggle for existence between different material qualities is always present. This quarrel between Lord Shiva and Bhrigu Muni, centering around Prajapati Daksh, is a practical example of such competition between the different qualitative modes of material nature. So sometimes we need the mode of ignorance, and sometimes we need the mode of goodness. They all have their purpose, they all have their status, and it's all about time, place, and circumstance. We use these modes. Maitreya continued, "My dear Vidur, that black person was the personified anger of the Supreme Personality of Godhead." Wow. And he was prepared to execute the orders of Lord Shiva. Thus, considering himself capable of coping with any power offered against him, he circumambulated Lord Shiva. So this is amazing that it's the Lord himself in his anger personified who is helping Lord Shiva here. So they are basically one. Lord Shiva is also part of the Supreme Personality Godhead. Many of the soldiers of Lord Shiva followed the fierce personality in a tumultuous uproar. He carried a great trident, fearful enough to kill even death. And on his legs, he wore bangles which seemed to roar. At that time, all the persons assembled in the sacrificial arena, the priests, the chief of the sacrificial performance, and the brahmanas and their wives, wondered where the darkness was coming from. Later, they could understand that it was a dust storm, and all of them were full of anxiety. So, conjuring on the origin of the storm, they said, "Oh, there is no wind blowing and no cows are passing. Nor is it possible that this dust storm could be raised by plunderers. For there is still the strong King Bari who would punish them. Where is this dust storm blowing from? Is the dissolution of the planet now to occur?" So from this we understand that King Bari was the ruler at that time in this kingdom. The king of the part of the land was known as Bari, and although he was old, he was still living, and he was a very strong ruler. Thus there was no possibility of an invasion by thieves and plunderers. Indirectly, to state that the thieves, plunderers, rogues, and unwanted population can exist only in a state or kingdom where there is no strong ruler. So that seems to be the case nowadays. You get all these ingredients in every kingdom. When in the name of justice, thieves are allowed liberty, the state of the and kingdom are disturbed by such plunderers and unwanted population. The dust storm created by the soldiers and assistants of Lord Shiva resembled the situation at the time of the dissolution of this world. When there's a need for the dissolution of the material creation, this function is conducted by Lord Shiva. Therefore, the situation now created by him resembled the dissolution of the cosmic manifestation. So when Lord Shiva gets angry, there's going to be destruction. Okay, here it might not be complete destruction, but there will definitely be some destruction taking place. Prasuti, the wife of Daksh, along with the other women assembled, became very anxious and said, "This danger has been created by Daksh because of the death of Sati, who, even though completely innocent, quit her body as her sisters looked on." So Sati had nothing to do with the whole situation that was created between Lord Shiva and Daksh, but yet she's the one who ended up paying the price by giving up her body. So Prasuti, being a soft-hearted woman, could immediately understand that the imminent danger approaching was due to the impious activity of a hard-hearted Prajapati Daksh. He was so cruel that he would not save her youngest daughter, Sati, from the act of committing suicide in the presence of her sisters. Sati's mother could understand how much Sati had been pained by the insult of her father. Sati had been present along with the other daughters, and Daksh had purposely received all of them but her, because she happened to be the wife of Lord Shiva. So he was no longer seeing as his daughter, he was seeing her as Lord Shiva's wife, because that was convenient to him at the time. This consideration convinced the wife of Daksh of the danger which was now ahead. And thus she knew that Daksh must be prepared to die for his heinous act. So at that time of dissolution, Lord Shiva's hair is scattered. He paces the rulers of the different directions with his trident. He laughs and dances proudly, scattering their hands like flags as thunder scatters the clouds all over the world. The gigantic black man bared his fearful teeth. By the movements of his brows, he scattered the luminaries all over the sky, and he covered them with his strong, piercing effulgence because of the misbehavior of Daksh. Even Lord Brahma, Daksh's father, could not have been saved from the great exhibition of anger. So while all the people talked amongst themselves, Daksh saw dangerous omens from all sides, from the earth and from the sky. So Maitri is telling Vidur, "My dear Vidur, all of the followers of Lord Shiva sounded the arena of sacrifice. They were of short stature and were equipped with various kinds of weapons, and their bodies appeared to be like those of sharks, blackish and yellowish. They all ran around with the sacrificial arena and thus began to create disturbances." So Lord Shiva's soldiers are back. Now they come back with Veerabhadra now. So they're a lot more confident, and they know that their victory is sure. Some of the soldiers pulled down the pillars which were supporting the pandal of sacrifice. Some of them entered the female quarters, some began destroying the sacrificial arena, and some entered the kitchen and residential quarters. They broke all the pots made for use in the sacrifice, and some of them began to extinguish the sacrificial fire. Some tore down the boundary line of the sacrificial arena, and some passed urine on the arena. So basically they just wanted this nonsense to stop, because without Shiva you can't have this sacrifice. Some blocked the way of the fleeing sages, some threatened the women assembled there, and some arrested the demigods who were fleeing the pandal. Maniman, one of the followers of Lord Shiva, arrested Bhrigu Muni And Veerbrother, the black demon, arrested Prajapati Daksh. Another follower who was named Chandesha arrested Pusha. Nandishwar arrested the demigod Bhaga. So whoever were the instigators of this insult to Lord Shiva and at the original yajna, and also now with Sati giving her body, they are punishable by their crimes. There was a continuous shower of stones, and all the priests and other members assembled at the sacrifice were put into immense misery for fear of their lives. They dispersed in different directions. Veerbrother tore off the moustache of Brigu, because who was offering the sacrificial oblations with his hands in the fire. Veerbrother immediately caught Bhaga, who had been moving his eyebrows during Brigu's cursing of Lord Shiva, and out of great anger thrust him to the ground and forcibly put out his eyes, because he was showing eyes when Lord Shiva was being cursed by Brigu Muni. Just as Baldev knocked out the teeth of Dantvakar, the king of Kalinga, during the gambling match at the marriage ceremony of Anirudh, Veerbrother knocked out the teeth of both Daksh, who had shown them while cursing Lord Shiva, and Pusha, who by smiling sympathetically had also shown his teeth. Then Veerbrother, the giant-like personality, sat on the chest of Daksh and tried to separate his head from his body with sharp weapons, but was unsuccessful. He tried to cut the head of Daksh with hymns and as well as weapons, but still it was hard to cut even the surface of the skin of Daksh's head. Thus Veerbrother was exceedingly bewildered. This is amazing how difficult it was to take off the head, even to cut his skin. This is amazing. Then Veerbrother saw the wooden device in the sacrificial arena by which the animals were to have been killed. So he was to be, looks like he was to be killed like an animal. This is why he could not cut his head. He took the opportunity of this facility to behead Daksh. In this connection, it is to be noted that the device used for killing animals in the sacrifice was not designed to facilitate eating their flesh. The killing was specifically intended to give a new life to the sacrificed animal by the power of Vedic mantra. The animals were sacrificed to test the strength of Vedic mantras. Yajnas were performed as a test of mantra. Even in the modern age, tests are executed on animal bodies in the physiology laboratory. Similarly, whether or not the Brahmins were uttering the Vedic hymns correctly was tested by the sacrifice in the arena. So that was the reason for the sacrificing, so they could see whether their hymns or the mantras they were chanting were potent enough, or whether they were doing them wrongly, they were pronouncing them wrongly. They could be tested, before doing all the mantras and finding that they didn't do them correctly. So they tested them. On the whole, the animals that sacrificed were not at all the losers. Some old animals would be sacrificed, but in exchange for their old bodies, they received other new bodies. That was a test of the Vedic mantras. Veerbrother, instead of sacrificing animals with the wooden device, immediately beheaded Daksh to the astonishment of everyone. So this is even bigger insult, that he was placed in that wooden device like an animal and beheaded, because Veerbrother felt that Daksh had behaved like an animal and he deserved to die like one. Upon seeing the action of Veerbrother, the party of Lord Shiva was pleased and cried out joyfully, and all the bhutas, ghosts, and demons that had come made a tumultuous sound. On the other hand, the Brahmins in charge of sacrifice cried out in grief at the death of Daksh. Veerbrother then took the head with great anger, threw it into the southern side of sacrificial fire, offering it as an oblation. In this way, the followers of Lord Shiva devastated all the arrangements for sacrifice. After setting fire to the whole arena, they departed for their master's abode in Kailash. Thank you all for joining. My father Noji, Hina Mataji, Shani Mataji, Jai Prabhu, Madhav Shamsundar Prabhu, Partha Prabhu, Pari Mataji, Prem Prakash Prabhu, and Sarveshya Gopi Mataji. Thank you for joining. So all this has happened just because Daksh had a great big ego, such a great big ego that he was prepared to insult Lord Shiva, who's the greatest Vaishnav, who's Mahadev, and he was prepared to see his daughter take her own life. He didn't try to stop her because his ego again was getting in the way, because he thought he was right and they were wrong, and she was the wife of the person who had insulted him, that he was prepared to sacrifice his daughter. So his insult was so big and so strong that he didn't care that who dies, who suffers. And this is the problem. It's just like in Mahabharata as well. Duryodhan and Dhritarashtra. Duryodhan was insulted by Draupadi. I think he had vowed that he will destroy them all. And so when you get into this situation that your ego and envy takes over, then you don't care about the consequences of your actions. You don't care who gets injured and who loses out. It doesn't matter as long as your ego is satisfied. I think that's the theme here, that is trying to satisfy his ego, but then that result of that also you get punished by that as well. In the end, you will also suffer, probably more than anybody else. So thank you so much. I'd like to have your views on this, your input or your realization or something that stood out for you. And we'll start from the top of the list. Maybe Hina Mataji would like to say something, Mataji. Haribol.
Haribol, Prabhu. Thank you for a lovely reading this morning. Yeah, just a couple of points I was just thinking about, just on your point, just following on from what you were saying about insult and the implications of insult and how ego can destroy many lives. And I think the thing that I was just thinking of was just obviously the recent war that we've got going on in Europe with Ukraine and Russia, and it's like that again, it's ego driven. It's the need, isn't it, to take over a country, to claim ownership over a piece of land. That's driven ultimately by ego. So and how many lives has that destroyed, and it continues to destroy. So it just goes to show how much negative reactions that can be driven from having ego and insult as well. In the case of of the reading that you've just kind of covered off there with Sati and Shiva's anger, essentially, and the implications that we're having there. And I think the other thing as well, you made a really good point, Prabhu, was around the goodness, the mode of goodness. And you said something about how the mode of goodness can be affected by the mode of passion and the mode of ignorance. So we may strive to remain in the mode of goodness, but we must always be on guard that these other lower modes can influence us, can easily sway us. So we must always be on guard, I guess. We must be aware of this, that these modes can influence us indirectly, directly, even if we're trying to be in the mode of goodness. So we need to always be need to be aware of that. That was it. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Very wonderful points you have made. Then you write about the Ukraine factor. Yes, it's all about Putin being insulted. He feels insulted. Ukraine, they see them as lower than him, and he's seen them shake hands with America and all this and that. So he's hurting his ego, and he wants to prove something. before he, leaves his position and his body, probably because I don't think he's a well man. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a very good example in this case. And with the modes as well, we should use, everything is to be used in yukta viragya, in the service of the Lord. So these modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, we can use them in the Lord's service. But when the modes take over us, then that's when the problems occur. Otherwise, these modes are very useful, but we should be their master, not the other way around, because the mode of ignorance you can use to sleep on time, and then because you want to serve the Lord in the morning. Passion, you can be passionate about doing your services. So these modes are there. They can be very good, just like the mind can be your friend or your enemy. So these modes can be your enemy or they can be your friend, but it's how you control them. Thank you so much. Partha Prabhu, Hari Bol.
Sorry, Hari Bol Prabhuji.
Hari Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah, that's a nice class. You already explained it, Mataji already said. And I pick up 2 points, Prabhuji. One is when this whole thing is happening, Krishna did not interfere in any one of these activities. So that means that everything is happening on the will of the Lord. So this is, as you mentioned, like Narada Muni passed the information because he already knew about all these pastimes. So that means that these pastimes are already approved by Lord Krishna. That is why there is no intervention of anyone else in this one. This has to go. And that's why even Krishna did not come directly into this. And second point is, you mentioned the Sati, though she did not do anything, but she has to suffer. So even in our normal life, sometimes we come across sorrow where we are not directly related to it, but it's caused because of somebody else as well. But we should know how we can take it as well. That's it. Because yesterday I was listening to one class where they are talking about sorrow and anu sorrow. I mean, sorrow word I did not get the properly, but he said like initial sorrow can be get rid of by getting the knowledge, but anu sorrow, which is accumulated sorrow, because you just keep on adding things in the mind with the things happening around you. So you can solve them by knowledge, but still you are not ready. You want to keep just thinking about the sorrow all the time. So sometimes it may happen that the sorrow could be because of others, but when you have knowledge, you can overcome the sorrowness. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Yeah, like what you said about sometimes we are the innocent party, but yes, we suffer. That's karma by association. So your family or your friends, sometimes they have some karma to burn because we are associated with them. We suffer as well, and the other way around as well. We can also get good karma through association as well. Somebody else has good karma, and we join in their happiness. So yeah, this is all about the association as well. So it can happen. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Praveen Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam to everyone. Very nice class and very nice realizations from Partha Prabhu and Hina Mataji. Yeah, I'll only extend on Hina Mataji point about the war, because Srila Prabhupada has given us the very nice formula of Krishna consciousness, which makes us realize that Krishna is the supreme, he's the proprietor of everything, and he's the controller. So when we understand this, then there is no question of ego or controlling other people or other countries. And it would be a nice place to live in, if everybody follows this, there wouldn't be any wars or greed for anything. Yeah, that's it, Prabhuji. Hari Bol.
Thank you, Mataji. Yes, absolutely right. That's the peace formula. If we can control our ego, then it's mentioned about that Prabhupada mentioned that if you control your ego, then there can peace. This peace not extends only in our lives; it extends throughout the world. All these like say fighting going on, wars going on, is all due to the egos and selfishness and attachments to things. Whether you could be attached to your ego. So yeah, that's what it's all about. Thank you, Mataji, so much. And Prem Prakash Prabhu.
I'm driving actually, but the point I really like, that was new for me, is that the anger, the personality that came those personifications.
You can't hear you well.
I'm driving, so I probably will not be able to make one this week, if that's okay. You might not be able to hear me.
No, it's sounds not very clear.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I
Driving
think
actually, so I
yeah.
wouldn't be.
Anji,
He's driving, Prabhuji, actually. So therefore his voice maybe network is not clear. He's not able to talk.
Yeah.
I think he's talking about the anger. It's mentioned over there that the black color, which is the anger of
Shiva.
Lord Shiva, is compared to. I'm not very sure because I missed some part of it. But is it compared to the Supreme Personality of Godhead? I'm not very sure because I missed that part, listening carefully.
Yes, this the Supreme Person got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that is a very amazing point, actually. Yeah, that is we haven't heard it earlier. Like this is a very unique point we have read over here, that it is compared to the, like it is a part of, it is a compared to Supreme Personality of God, the anger of Supreme Personality of Godhead, I believe.
Yes, it anger personified. Supreme
Anger.
Godhead comes as the anger personified.
So that means all the three modes are somewhat a part of Krishna only. It comes from him only, because passion, anger, anger is I think it's in the mode of ignorance. So if that also is coming from Krishna, that means all three of the modes, like ignorance, passion, and goodness, everything is coming from Krishna only. So that's the point I think he needs to describe. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, it says in chapter 14 that these modes, they are from Krishna. They are under his control. He's not controlled by the modes. He says that you won't be able to release yourself from them. That these ropes are very strong, but if you surrender to Krishna, then he can help you angle yourself from these modes. Yeah. So we need basically we need bhakti. We need the pure goodness that we can only get if we go into bhakti yoga. We can get out because even the mode of goodness entangles us in many ways. So we want to move out of these modes, elevate ourselves to pure goodness, and for that, yeah, we need to get involved in bhakti and also take inspiration from other devotees who have managed to, or at least we see that they seem to have released themselves from the modes, or they are in control of the modes. We need to take inspiration from them as well. Thank you, Madhuri.
One thing I was just wondering, Prabhuji, we have seen that whosoever, like in the demons who is killed by Krishna, so they have got liberation, maybe any of the 5 kinds of liberation. But what happens when someone is killed by Shiva, Lord Shiva? So is there anything mentioned in the Shastras, like maybe what happens to him later?
A very good point. I'll be just guessing, but I think it's only Lord himself when he comes, I would say, as Vishnu Tattva, then they get liberation. I don't think anybody else has the authority to give liberation. Only Lord himself can give liberation. Mataji.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. But that's a point for us, like to think about it, or to ask maybe someone, like what happens to the one who is killed by Lord Shiva, or maybe by some other demigods?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, demigods, they don't have any authority anyway. But I mean, Shiva, I'm not sure what happened, but as far as I know, liberation can only be offered by the Lord himself. Nobody else can give liberation. Because I mean, all the demigods have to ask the Lord himself, whatever, if they're giving a boon, they have to go through Krishna himself. They have to ask Narayan, whether it's okay to give this boon or not. So that they don't have, I mean, demigods are in charge of universal affairs. That's their duty. They're not authorized to give liberation or anything like that, at that level. And I don't think Lord Shiva is also authorized to give liberation. But what happens actually, I'm not sure, but he definitely can't give liberation. Yeah, you're right. We try and find that out. What happens if Lord Shiva himself? But I mean, in this case, he didn't come himself. He didn't kill anybody himself. It's the anger of Lord Krishna personified. Lord Krishna didn't come himself. It's the anger personified that did the killing. And so I'm not too sure what happens there, Mataji.
First, Lord Shiva, Prabhuji, I think because yeah, I'm not sure. Prabhuji. I was thinking like, what happens to the worshipper of Lord Shiva? That was the answer, that they will go to Kailash because they are worshipper of Lord Shiva. But if Lord Shiva kills someone, then I don't know. Sorry, different thought.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. And finally, we go to Sarveshri Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Well, a lot of points have been discussed and it's very nice. What I like to say is Daksha was a Brahmana, and as well as the Prajapati, and but he didn't have the quality of Brahmana, because Brahmanas are very merciful, and he seems to be very hard-hearted with Sati. He had no compassion, no mercy for Sati, and it's usually fathers, they should protect their daughters. I mean, he didn't protect the daughters, but that's why she put herself in the fire. And but he wasn't compassionate, because he was full of pride and false ego, and he insulted Sati because he insulted Lord Shiva. So if a husband is insulted, I think the wife feel insult as well. So while he was insulting Shiva, so Sati was insulted as well. And in the Shastras, it's said that 5 people should be protected. We should protect the goat or cows. Brahmanas, you should protect Brahmanas, and women, children, and older people. The Prabhupada says the women, when women are young, the fathers, how the father protects them. When they marry, the husband protects them. When the husband pass away, then the son protects. So women should be always protected, but in this case, he couldn't protect his daughter. And Lord Shiva's anger was justified, because he got angry when he heard that his wife taken her life. Any man, when they see somebody kill their wife, they'll get angry. And they get all the action, got reaction. So Daksha got reaction for his action, and he was humiliated and punished by Lord Shiva because of his action. And then Lord Shiva, he's he, he's not in the mode of ignorance because he's a pure Vaishnava, but he acts like, because he's made like to act like that. The Lord takes this gun avatar, Brahma, Shiva, and then Brahma is creator and Vishnu is the maintainer and Lord Shiva is destroyer. Well, it's job. So that's why he has to act all the time in the mode of ignorance, because that's why he was created. He had to gun avatar. So that's I can say that his anger was justified, and if the Daksha protected his daughter, bit merciful to his daughter, this wouldn't happen. So all the men, they should protect their wives, their daughters, or their mothers. That's the lesson we get it. That if you don't protect, some accident or something can happen, and they'll be neglected, and then they're not looked after properly. And a lot of women, especially old women nowadays, they're not looked after, and they're sent into homes, or they just die. They had no food, and they just send them outside the house, out of the house. So women should be protected, and the children, because they're so helpless. And so Sati, I mean, she had no choice. That's why she was very insulted and gave her life. That's what I can say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you. Yeah, very good point. The father's supposed to be protecting his daughter, yet he became the cause of her death. And also because he has such a high position, and yet so higher the position, higher the responsibility. And he broke so many codes of ethics and regulations that are supposed to be followed. And so the higher the responsibility, then the higher the punishment as well, in which he got deservedly, and his followers who supported him as well. So brilliant. So that's what happens today. And now we'll do a couple of rounds. Swashi Mataji, if you'd like to start, and then we'll do, and then Parveen Mataji do the second one. Hare Krishna. Thank you all so much.
Hare Krishna. Nama O Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaur